So it was really fun listening to Kuben's interview. Mad Lions coach, they've doubled down. And so I've got right off the bat, before we get into the topic of Kuben as the coach and everything that he covered in his HLTV confirmed interview that he did with Sponge and the lads, I got to say straight up, I called it wrong. Mad Lions, I thought that when they sold all their Danish players, when they decided, that this is it, they kept selling off all of their talent. I was thinking, these guys are just looking to recoup their costs of what they invested into CS:GO, and that's it. They're gonna bounce. They're gonna take what money they can get, and they can go. The only thing that they would be losing on, I guess, would be Flashpoint at that point, because they would have invested money into Flashpoint as one of the partner teams. That's a franchise system. They would still have that slot. They would have to find a way to disentangle themselves from that, or that they just they make whatever money they can and they take the loss and they move on. That's what I thought was going to happen. I was maybe being a little cynical, but that's the reality. I was like, okay, it didn't work out for them. These projects haven't panned out. They sold off all their talent. They've made what little money they can, and now they bounce. It turns out that's not the case, as Kuben comes on to HLTV confirmed a couple nights ago or yesterday night, and straight up says that they are going all in. And we kind of had a hint of this a little while ago when Ragin joined up, previous Mouse coach and banned, but we'll see how that pans out, obviously. But he is, he joined up with Mad Lions not too long ago as like the general manager for the CS:GO division, and he made it very clear on the Danish outlets that he wasn't going to have any direct contact with the team, but that he was going to be heading up the CS:GO division for Mad Lions. And so obviously all of us kind of like, scoffed a little bit. Haha, right? Not going to be involved with the team, guy's banned, whatever. We'll see if he ever makes it back or not. I think he is one of those guys who's just banned for life. So it's not happening. But he's on there as the GM role, and it turns out that, it looks like he isn't going to be directly involved with the team on the day-to-day, because Kuben has been brought on as the coach, and everything that he's talked about has got me pretty interested, even though it sounds incredibly ambitious. So right off the bat, Kuben is saying that they want to go to 7 players, and that So that whole discussion that we were having about teams taking the major seriously and not, and actually trying to take into account this new Valve ruling on the substitutes for the regional major ranking events, that all goes right out the window, because Kuben is straight up said, we're going to 7 players, right? He wants to have 2 ops on this roster. But what's really interesting is he has gone the opposite way of Cloud9 and Henry, for example. And he made it abundantly clear himself. He said, we could just spend the money on the players and hope for success, right? Which, all in all, is essentially what Henry did. He just spent a bunch of money on the players. He was abundantly clear about it. We're going to spend money, and we hope to get results. That didn't really happen. It didn't pan out for him. The gambit failed, and now Henry's in a bit of a long-term sort of situation with Cloud9 now, where they need to plan ahead and they need to build and develop talent. Kuben, right off the get-go, has made it clear that they are going to aim for the long term with this, and that any results in the short term are going to be seen as a boon, luck, fluke, whatever, because this is all going to be about shaping a team for the long term, the long haul. And this could revolutionize CS as far as I'm concerned. If this system works, and he shows that it can work this way, we've seen it before with Astralis. We've seen it a little bit with Vitality. It seems like Vitality have that kind of clout where the coaches get to call the shots. We know that Zonic has that kind of clout over on Astralis, but here Kuben's gone a step further and said that they've built out the support team before they even bothered getting into the players. So we already have the coach, Kuben. We already have the assistant coach, Musambani. We already have the GM, Ragin. We already have a sports psychologist. We already have a nutritionist, as far as I know, like an osteopath or something, who's already involved. So they've made a team already here to plan out what the game plan is to develop a winning team. He then goes on to say that the only tier 1 player that he's interested in investing any money in would be the in-game leader. So kind of like, actually kind of like Henry with Cloud9, where he gets Alex on board and says, right, this is going to be our in-game leader. We're going to follow his vision, and he's going to go with it, right? Obviously, Rip Kassad. He's gone straight up and said the same thing, Kuben, where he's just like, we want the guy with the experience, and that's the guy that I'm willing to spend money on. Past that, we're going to be looking to form the talent up. And he was talking about all sorts of things in terms of how they would be monitoring sleep, diet, exercise. There would be performance-based bonuses if you hit your goals. So say if you set a goal that you wanted to lose some weight by the end of the year and you hit that goal, you will get a performance bonus based off of that. And so they're taking a completely different approach here on Mad Lions, which sounds really promising to me. Except that what I'm wondering is are we seeing the shift away from the gamer nerd? Because this isn't the first time I've heard this kind of thing. And I think even in Cloud9, I'm pulling this out of my ass, but Cloud9, League of Legends team tried to do the same thing where they were trying to encourage, let's say, their players to attend the gym by finding them if they didn't. I think this is what I heard, right? Like they would find them if they didn't. And there was a player on that LoL team that just straight up was like, okay, find me. Like he didn't care about physical fitness to the point where he was like, yeah, just find me, whatever. I'm not going to the gym. And so there is that it's like you started playing games for a reason, and that's because maybe you're not that physically fit, right, or that physically interested, that interested in physical fitness. Fine, fair enough, straight to it. But it seems like right now on Mad Lion's side, they want to have that level, let's say, of discipline in their players. The true professional is what it sounds like Mad Lions want to create. That they want to provide all of the support structure so that the players can focus entirely on performance. So they can focus entirely on their game and improving day to day, tournament to tournament, until eventually, obviously, the goal is that they win. And this sounds completely amazing to me. It's like a very long-term, ultra ambitious goal. But if they are able to pull this off, if Kuben can actually pull this off, this could change the game completely as far as CSGO are concerned. Because then, obviously, you're not going to be going to spend the big money on the big names anymore. You really are talking about, this new generation of CSGO pro that we're seeing come up, grind their way up through FPL, getting signed younger and younger. Well, if you can take that FPL pro who's already got the drive and the talent and then give him the discipline as well to improve step by step, you're talking about the next generation of CSGO pro that can push it all the way past in terms of the level. We'll reach new heights that never seen before. Maybe only seen by Astralis in their peak shape, right? Where they had that systematic approach. It was the team through and through. All the players knew what they were doing, and they were, Device is the guy that comes to mind when I think about these sorts of things, right? Systematic incremental improvement day in, day out, using stats and numbers to really drive that as well. That was Device's calling card. He was one of the first players to use heat maps. He was one of the first players to really take that into account when it came to developing his game as an opper. So he's the kind of guy that I think about when I think about what Kuben was talking about in terms of his vision for Mad Lions, right? Really showing that a different approach is possible. That's the goal, right? To show that if you focus on the coach, if you focus on the GM, if you focus on the support staff around the players, and then you guide the players, you give the players all the support they need necessary, you really focus on the support network around the players, it's almost to the point where you can take any talented player in the rough and just slot them into this team and see them improve. That's what it sounds like to me. Instead of paying mega bucks to get the star players who are already set in their ways, who may already have egos, who already know how they want to play the game, and you're just paying them to play the game the way that they want to play the game, this is a completely different approach coming in from Kuben, and it makes me think that it's an approach that could work in this current day and age where teams are talking about how it's cost too much to run a CS:GO team. The player salaries are inflated. It's the cost is too. It's just unreasonable. This sounds like you spend a decent amount of money on your support staff. You get young players that aren't going to cost you that much contractually until they start growing. And either you then at that point are in a position where their brands are big enough, you're big enough, you can make money off of them, and so you can support the higher and higher salaries, or you just sell them off to one of those other teams, right? And you act as a farm team. But this is providing some options, and this is really interesting to me. It's one of the more exciting things that I've heard of in the CSGO space for a while now, because if they're able to pull this off, it could really change the game. It could crack it wide open, and it could get really interesting because, again, CSGO would find themselves on the cutting edge, at least as far as I'm concerned, would find themselves on the cutting edge. And as far as CSGO is concerned as well as a game, I do feel like this could happen because I feel like CSGO, unlike the weeb games, like League of Legends and Overwatch, right, where you have the pros, but they really are, just like they just want to play games. CSGO, I think because of the game, we've just seen it historically. It attracts a more mature player. It's a lot of ex-athletes who injured themselves. Device, for example, badminton pro, or nearly, played at an extremely high level, injured himself and turned to CSGO as that outlet for his competitive side, right? And we have a lot of stories like that in CSGO where it's like these players where they already have that competitive drive. They may be into sports, they may be into something, and then they shift it over into CSGO and they apply it there. But these are still the pros that I'm finding at the clubs at the end of the night. These are still the pros, that are, I guess, a little bit more mature, right, than other games. And so I wonder if this approach could work in CSGO, just because maybe CSGO as a game appeals to those kinds of pros, those kinds of players. And so it's just nothing but exciting. It's really looking forward to seeing how this develops. And I wish, Mad Lions and Kuben all the best. And well, obviously, I take it back. I was wrong. I called them out. I was making a little bit of fun at their expense, saying I expect the exit tweet any day now from Mad Lions after they sold all their players. But as it happens, totally changed it up, and now we're going to be offered an exciting experience here, or an opportunity to learn and see, does this work in CS:GO, and do we all get to benefit because of their vision? So really excited, and well, we'll see how it plays out.